Okay, the meeting has started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this our new webinar, which is about careers in international organization. So I'm very happy to welcome our speakers today. So I would like to thank our four speakers. So Eric Bomdzele, who is an African fellow at the World Bank, Erdgin, who is a policy officer at the FAO, Sharma Mitra, who is in global HR at the IMF, and Adesola Sunmoni, who is a young professional in economics at the World Bank. So thank you all for being here with us. This is going to be a roundtable discussion. So we will begin with some questions to our panelists, and we will then open up the floor for questions from the audience. So please feel free to type your questions in the chat while our presenter are answering the questions, and we will pick them up at the end. Or you can also ask your question directly at the end of the talk. There will be plenty of time to do so. I'm happy now to start with the questions. So I will start asking question about the recruitment process. So perhaps I'll start with Sharma and ask the first question. So we are really interested in what type of role the IMF normally recruit. So what type of positions are available, and what are the channel that you commonly use to identify find suitable candidate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So my name is Sarayu. Sharma is my last name.
Oh, sorry.
So
oh my God.
Sarayu is my first name. So no worries, no worries. So IMF is primarily economics, but macroeconomics. So when we look at the economics and research talent pipeline, when we build, it's a whole. The focus is macroeconomics. But having said that, we do have three programs which I'm going to touch upon right now. One is a research analyst program, another one is an economist program, and the third one is an experienced economist program. So these are the three ways. And then in between, we do have an internship program, which is called the fund internship program. So the research analyst program is primarily, if those who are doing bachelor's in economics and they've just graduated in bachelor's in economics or a related field, and they're going to pursue masters, or actually if they've done masters also, what we offer for this research analyst program is a 2-year contract, providing support. They will be providing support to operational and policy work of the fund. So as a research analyst, it's a junior role, very starting role. So if somebody has done their master's and bachelor's, but they're looking into, not yet decided if they want to do their PhD, not yet decided if they want to go deep into their research or economics, this is a good way to explore, like working in the fund, doing actually supporting policy work that the economists do, and get hands-on experience in the IMF. And it's a 2-year contractual program. And in the research analyst program, no matter where you are located in the world, we do provide the visa you need to work in the IMF. We do relocate you to Washington, D.C. for those 2 years, and you get full salary, medical coverage, relocation benefits, and you're an IMF contractual employee for those 2 years. But with an intention that after those 2 years, these bachelor's or master's students, they get that experience, work experience, and then they go out of IMF and maybe build their portfolio working for other organizations, maybe doing their PhD, maybe getting deep into their economic expertise, because many of the masters and bachelors might not have got into macroeconomics right then in their education, but having worked in the IMF and known that ultimately you need to be a macroeconomic specialist, this will give you a chance to get that hands-on experience for 2 years and maybe go out and build your resume further before you come back. So now that's like the initial entry level. Then next we have what is known as a fund internship program, where we encourage economics students who are doing their PhD in macroeconomics, and they're in their third or fourth or fifth year of PhD, and they would like to come and do an internship for 10 to 12 weeks in the summer. So those PhD students who are doing their research in macroeconomics, they're building their macroeconomic portfolio, they get like a 10 to 12 week option to do internship. And right after this internship, they have an option. It's almost like a feeder to the next program that I'm going to talk about. It's the Economist program. This Economist program has been running in the fund for almost 50 plus years now. And it's very similar to the Young Professionals program for World Bank, but in this one, it's very focused on macroeconomics only. So the PhD students who've done macroeconomics, public finance, monetary economics, financial sectors, econometrics, even those are considered, but core is macroeconomics. So if you're doing your PhD and you're in your last year of PhD, and while you're in your third, fourth year of PhD, you come here as an intern and you still continue your PhD. But if you're in your last year of PhD, you are eligible to apply for this Economist program. But the age limit for this program is 34 and below. So you need to be below the age of 34 to be eligible for this particular program. So if you're a PhD student in your, last year of PhD, and say you are 32 years of age, and this program every year starts in September. So by September 1st, you should be 34 and below at the time of starting this. If you join the fund, you should be below 34 years of age. And it's a 3-year program. So you come in as a cohort. And when we recruit, it's the applications for all of these I'm going to explain go out in the month of October. So the applications start in October and they go on till December first week. So whether it's research analyst program, whether it's fund internship program, whether it's economist program, the applications start in October 1st, ideally, and the applications end December first week, around 5th or 6th of the month. December. So when you apply for the Economist program, you go through a rigorous assessment process, and when you joined what is known as an EP, which is an Economist program cohort member. It's a 3-year program. You get to 18 months, the first 18 months of the 3-year program, you get to work in a department that, in a country department, like work for a country, work for a region. And the next 18 months, you transfer and you get to work on the aspects of monetary capital market, maybe financial sector, maybe research. So you get an exposure to everything that IMF does in macroeconomics, but not only geographical regions, but what it does for the non-geographical regions, but the core of the monetary and fiscal policy aspects. At the end of 3 years, you graduate as what they call the graduated EP, and then you are then promoted one grade higher, and you become a full-fledged economist in the fund. Even if the 3 years you are a full-fledged economist, you go on country assignments, you are given the full experience as a staff member. It's just that after 3 years, based on strong performance and business need, you are promoted for one level. Again, we hire from all over the world for this particular program. Last year of PhD is critical. PhD in economics and macroeconomics critical. Age is something to keep in mind. But medical coverage, visa, full salary, relocation benefits, everything is covered if you get this role. Now, the last but not the least, the program that we actually hire macroeconomics is called the Experience Economist program. Now, for that, as the name suggests, they need a lot of macroeconomics experience before you are eligible for this. So ideally, some organizations similar to the IMF, similar to World Bank, similar to like Central Bank, Ministry of Finance. So if you've done real hands-on policy work, and for that, you don't need a PhD only. You can be a master's, and you can be eligible for this program. But you need to have at least 7 to 14 years of experience having done policy work. So either in your own central bank, either in other central banks, Ministry of Finance, or other IFIs, or even academia. So if you're working on your academia and you're like a professor or you're doing research on macroeconomics, you're eligible but your PhD or master's, but at least 7 to 14 years of experience is required. And that's actually a pipeline program. So what I mean by pipeline program is, unlike the Economist program, where you have, you join, you're there for 3 years, you join directly if you pass the assessments and you join for 3 years. This one is a pipeline. So once you go through the assessment process and you're selected, you put into a pipeline of experienced economist pipelines. So when you're in the pipeline, you get access to all the internal fund job applications that are open to internal economists. So as an external pipeline candidate, you get access to that, and then you apply to the job that interests you, and you get interviewed by that respective department for that job. So you're in the pipeline for 2 years, and you have 2 years access to all the jobs in the fund for you to apply to and get vetted by those departments. So they have their own specific interviews after that, and you get selected. Once you're selected, you enter the organization and called as a fungible macroeconomist. So fungible macroeconomists are pretty much, if I have to say, bread and butter of IMF. So they are the ones who do the real policy work with countries. They are the ones who do the health checkup, economic health checkup with all the countries to see how their economic health is doing, whether they need lending, whether, how the debt restructuring happens, what is their fiscal policy like. So fungible macroeconomist is like the core of the fund economic career path. And to reach that, you get through the Economist program or the Experienced Economist pipeline, or even the research analyst. It's like a career journey, right? You start, if you're early in your career, you explore through research analyst, then maybe go out and see, hey, I need to build my muscle in macroeconomics, and then maybe come back to the World Bank, to the fund through fund internship. Maybe you're doing a PhD, economics program, or maybe you decide, okay, I don't want to do PhD, I don't want to do EP. I don't want to be stuck with that 34 years of age limit. Let me work for many years. Let me do my master's. And then I'll come through the Experienced Economist program and enter the fund. So for economists and research folks, these are the three main sections where you can actually enter the fund. So yeah,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so the only place to find information about this and the application is the IMF portal, the main. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And usually we post it, like this year we are planning to post all these, especially the Economist program, by September 30th. It normally goes out, and with a deadline for December 5th. And even for fund internship and for research analysts, we post all at the same time.
All at the same time. Great. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much for this very comprehensive view. Thank you. And so we'll move now to Erdgin. If you can give us, a bit of instead the perspective of FAO on recruitment and the type of roles and channels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefania, for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to share some experience of our organization, but also to try to help those who are finishing PhD or graduate programs. So let me give a bit of background of myself. I'm an economist. By studies, I have a PhD in econometrics. And I indeed started working in FAO while I was doing my PhD here in Rome as a consultant. No? So I have now almost 20 years. This year I turned 20 years of experience in FAO in different divisions. So in different, so let's say the place where most of the development economists work in FAO is the economic and social development stream, which is let's say before it was a department, now it's called the stream, and is made of different divisions. Let's say the lead of this stream is the FAO's chief economist. So and then there are the director. Every division is head by a director. So the division is where, let's say, most of the technical work is conducted. So there are different divisions that are relevant for the development economists. For example, my division is called Rural Transformation and Gender Equality. Is a division most of the micro work is conducted somehow. We look at topics around jobs, migration, gender, youth, economic inclusivity, financial institutions. Let's say it's mostly, and also land tenure aspects around. So yeah, let's say it's more people-centered division somehow, no? There is then the agri-food economics division, which is a mix of both micro and macro. Then there is a more macro division, which is trade division that we have. Then there are more specific division, which is the food systems division, and there is also a nutrition division and statistics division. So there are different types of jobs within the stream. There is also the investment center, which is linked with project level investments that FAO makes with partners in countries. These are more conduct more economic and financial analysis of the specific projects, more at field level work. So in terms of contracts, so let's say I would start from the most junior types of arrangement recruitment to the more senior one. So let's say we also for those who have just finished the university, we have the internship program, which is also, of course, you can think of it as a pyramid, no? Where there is a very large base of graduate students that apply. It's you need a bit of luck there because I mean, it's yeah. You don't have much in terms of publications yet. In terms of you don't have a long CV to show at that stage. So, but it's a very good possibility to enter. No, it's the internship program is paid. It's a sort of a reimbursement of around $700. And this generally is needed to do at least 1 year of experience, because then the next type of contract that we apply are the consultancy contracts, which have 3 levels. C, the most junior, that requires 1 year of experience, B, that requires 5 years of experience, and C, that is 10 to 8 years of experience. So then the most common is the consultancy contract. So there are often in FAO let's say, announcements for consultancy contracts. I invite you to look at those because I mean that is the most common way to enter. So how we, of course, the FAO website is the main place. We more and more use LinkedIn as a tool also to share this announcement. I myself, sometimes it's easier for me to get to learn from a VA from LinkedIn instead of other places, no? Unless you are actively searching, no, for a job and looking at those websites, it's easier if you register to these types of to LinkedIn and have contact persons in those divisions, in those places to get information. Yes, this is in terms of the consultancy contract, but how these consultancy contracts work. So these are 11 months, so a maximum 11 months contracts. And after 11 months, you need to take 1 month break, basically. And this can be renewed, no? So this is now, we're talking about the formal recruitment is this one. Let's say in FAO, we have the possibility to recruit specific experts, no, for shorter term contracts. For example, maximum, but this recruitment without a competitive process could be for a maximum of 100 days. So we can recruit, for example, I don't know, Stefania, because you know your expertise, you have probably on a specific topic, so we can recruit you for a short period. No? Of course, there is a approval process, clearance process at all levels here, at different levels, but it's something that we can do. The problem is then we cannot extend that contract for more after 100 days. So these are the type of short-term contracts that we have. Then we move to similar to the UN system, we have the professional contracts, which go from P1 to P5, but you can rarely find P1 or P2 type of contracts. Generally, they start from P3, after you have some years of experience as consultant, then the most natural move is you apply for a P2 or P3 position to get in a more regular and stable job somehow, no? And then above P, you have the directors level, so D1, D2, and ADG. This is similar across UN. The salary is equivalent as well at UN organizations. So there is a salary for this P type of across all UN, but what changes is a sort of a parameter that depends on the life, the cost of living in every city, in every country. No, so this multiplication, this parameter changes depending on the cost of living in every city. So this is how the recruitment works now. Of course, in the recruitment, I would. So it's important that we prepare properly. No, there is every organization I've learned has its own, let's say, application process. So in FAO, it's called the Taleo system. So it's not sufficient to have your CV, but you need to compile this. Taleo profile, and it's important. What I would suggest, because the number of applicants is so large, it's important that you make your application carefully, no? In the sense that you look at what are the technical requirements of the vacancy announcement, and try to indicate your activities and your experiences in those areas, no? So even for myself, you need to adapt somehow your CV to highlight those aspects that are relevant to the job. You cannot submit the same profile to all types of jobs because many people apply for different positions. So you need to, even in the cover letter, for example, you need to see to show what are those elements of your experience that are relevant for the position. So this is more or less how things work in FAO. I can elaborate more if there are questions. Thanks.
Thank you. So we do have a few questions. I keep them at the end. And so perhaps I can move on to now gather the perspective of our colleagues here who have actually instead done, I mean, although you also had done it at the time, but they have more fresh experience of applying for these type of jobs. And then I keep some other question at the end in case. So perhaps I'd like to ask Eric. If you can tell us a little bit of the essential steps that you took, in order to then end up in your current position. So, if you have any, how did you go about to finding, this role or previous roles, so if you can give us your perspective on this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Stefania. Thank you, everyone. First, I'll say my pathway started with my aspirations in international development alongside a strong academic and research foundation, as well as development in agri-environmental economics, both in my university in Cameroon, where I started before moving to the UK under the Chevening scholarship, and also building my profile across the academic sphere. That's also at the University of Cambridge, Wolfson's College, where I equally enhanced my skills in sustainable food systems in the Anthropocene, and equally had other trainings from the US Department of Agriculture on the agricultural censuses and survey methodology, as well as other World Bank certifications. So alongside that, I have also prepared myself in terms of my hands-on professional experiences across sub-Saharan Africa and equally in Europe on climate resilient agriculture, food security, impact evaluation, which were my key thematic areas. So I found most of the opportunities, the case of the World Bank's African Fellowship Program, I found it through a mix of proactive searching as well as relationship building and networking via official portals, like we have the World Bank's career site, where there are always like constant jobs or opportunities at the bank. And we have other programs like the World Bank's Pioneer Internship Program. We have the World Bank's African Fellowship Program. We have the World Bank, the Junior Professional Associate Program. We equally have the World Bank's YP program, as well as other short-term consultancies, as well as also extended term consultancies, which are pretty longer, usually about a year, which could be extended based on the performance. So I think So most of these internship as well as the fellowship programs are, like our previous colleague Mane said, those are good entry points into getting to the bank, and then you build your yourself as well as your networks internally. So we have other networks as well as referrals, because yeah, most times people do recommend others, especially maybe for consultancy positions. Maybe the global practice might need someone of a particular skill, and they launch probably a recruitment process or an advert. And if you are recommended by probably someone who at the bank, it carries some weight, because to an extent they are sure that this person actually possesses the skills. So there are other platforms like LinkedIn, where you could always connect with World Bank or FAO staffs or IMF or food program staffs from, especially I usually recommend or advise people to maybe if you may prioritize those working in your region, because they might likely align with your experiences as well as your knowledge on the local realities. So there are other aspects like the alumni network. For example, we have the Chevening alumni network. We have the University of Reading alumni networks. So other avenues could be international conference presentations. For example, for those who are into research, always keep an eye on some of these international conferences, because those are avenues for you to also showcase what you can do. And who knows, you might meet some colleagues at the bank or at the IMF who are looking for someone with that particular skill, maybe in econometrics, could be experimental or quasi-experimental designs. So those things usually come up, and those conferences are equally another good avenue to explore. And then we have other resources like Relief Web, we have DevEx, we have UN Jobs, and also country office contacts, where we could always leverage them to search for opportunities. Like I took upon myself, I had like a weekly schedule, which I allocated time for applying for at least 3 jobs every week, because the recruitment process is, like our previous speaker said, is quite competitive, and it involves a large volume of applications. And sometimes there might be people who, maybe for the position launched, maybe it's a staff position, they have already been in the system probably as consultants or interns or fellowships. Any of these international organizations will definitely prioritize those they have worked with, because they assume they already understand the system, the recruitment processes, the procedures, and all that. So it equally reduces the workload on them during the onboarding process. So there are other avenues, like I already mentioned, the internships and the fellowship programs. And if I just give some key lessons, I'll just say for the young students, I would say don't just apply cold. So you should build an active professional profile, probably on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. If you're into research, you could keep a good track record of relevant research publications, and also reach out politely to people doing similar work which are of interest to you. And my current role grew from demonstrating value in agri-food systems, climate resilience, social protection, as well as impact evaluation projects in sub-Saharan Africa. And for some practical tips, I would say recruitment in these international organizations is very, very competitive. So it's good to prepare early enough. Probably you could start in a month, and you keep reading all over. You read the call for application, you prepare your CV, tailoring it towards the required skills. It could be technical skills, it could be behavioral skills, because sometimes people focus only on the technical aspect, but also we need the behavioral skills to complement your technical skills, because you have to work with people from different ethnic groups, different backgrounds, and so you need that interpersonal skills alongside your technical abilities, and also build a portfolio of policy relevant works. It could be through blogs, papers, or field reports. And I would say and emphasize that you consider internships as well as these fellowship programs or short-term consultancies as a stepping stone towards penetrating these international development organizations. So I will stop here for now, and we're ready to take up some more questions as we go on.
Thank you very much. So that was very helpful. We start to see some similarities, things that keep on popping up, and about LinkedIn seems definitely to be a place where everybody wants to be, and also internship and short-term positions as a way to find your way later on. So I'll pass it to you now, Adesola, if you want to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to be a young professional, and anything that helped you through this journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stefania. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. I don't like being the last speaker, because then everyone has said everything and then I don't have anything else to say. But as Stefania said, my name is Adesola. I'm a young professional at the World Bank. I am currently in my second year of the Young Professionals program. I am in the social policy global practice, and I cover countries in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. I also obtained my PhD at University of Reading, and Stefania here was my supervisor. Okay. So in terms of my pathway here, I think everyone has said it already. For me, it was signaling my interest early. From maybe my second year, I already started telling Stefania that, okay, I wanted to work at the World Bank. I was actively looking for opportunities to collaborate, actively looking for anyone. If I found anyone who worked at the World Bank, either as a consultant or as a staff, I made a point to talk to them, signal my interest in them, whether I met them in conferences or uni, anywhere I met them, or even on LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn actually. So that was very big, following people on LinkedIn that worked in my field. They usually post job openings, and so I that's one key thing which everyone has said, which I would like to echo. But in addition to that, just signaling my interest. Obviously, you build a strong portfolio through your academic background, your PhD, your papers, relevant papers in the area, some research assistant experience, work reports, things like that. I think they all help. Another thing I would like to emphasize, which everyone has said, is literally just trying to get one foot in the door, because the way this thing works is kind of like a pipeline, trying to get one foot in the door. For me, since I learned about the World Bank and I really wanted to work there, any opportunity I had, any opening I saw that I was remotely qualified for, I applied for it. I kid you not, I applied to close to 100 positions at the World Bank alone, and I have different CVs. Another thing is I have different CVs for different positions. This is just in the World Bank. So for those who don't know, the World Bank works in every area of development, not just macro or food and agriculture. We work in every area of development: water, transport, education, health, agriculture, everything. And so if I saw any position in, say, social protection, then I'll present myself as a social protection person and I'll apply. If I saw something in poverty, I'll present myself as a poverty person and then I'll apply. So that helped. And I finally got my big break in the third year of my PhD. There was an opening to be like a research assistant for a large World Bank project on it was a World Bank flagship report. It was called the World Development Report on Migration, Remittances, and Societies. And my own PhD was on migration. So it was very, very easy to demonstrate demonstrate my competence and everything. And so I got the job. And since when I got the job, and it was a year long. It was a remote position, so I was still completing my PhD in England, and I was a remote position, so I did that. And in the process of that, I networked in person, so I bought a ticket because then when you get a World Bank consultancy position, you can apply for a visa. So I applied for a visa and I came to the US on my own, with my own money. And then I was just talking to people, having coffees. I had so much coffee and, signaling, okay, this is my background. I want to get into the bank. And in that process, someone I met just say, you know what, why don't you apply for the YPP? And that was my thinking, even though I knew it was super, super competitive. And they were like, apply for it, I'll write you a letter. And that was my journey. So I applied for it the first time, did not get it. And this is something everyone has already mentioned. These positions are super, super competitive. But you have to be, you have to be persistent. This is while I was applying for the YP, I also applied for any position in the bank that I was remotely qualified for. And eventually at the second time of asking, I got in. Another few points I would like to mention is, like I said, I apply for many jobs, and setting up job alerts on the World Bank website, on LinkedIn, even just on good old Google, just setting up job alerts. Any job alert that meets this criteria, send it to me. So every day or every week, I was getting job alerts, and I already had like different CVs prepared, different cover letters prepared. So once I got the job alert, I just say, okay, this is South Asia. Can I tailor my CV to be South Asia poverty, and then I apply. One other point, a few more points I would like to add is cover letter. My cover letter also was tailored to each position, which was usually painful, but I already had like many cover letters, so I just tailored everyone. In your cover letter, you want to demonstrate your interest in development, not just by saying, "No, I'm interested in development," but maybe through your track record, your background, your track record, your education, your publications, your work experience. If you have, maybe you've done some field work in some developing countries, those are kind of things that will be interesting. Another thing I did was I watched, I followed like the conversations around the World Bank, the strategic direction of the World Bank. So when I was writing my letter, I was speaking like someone who was already in the World Bank, because I was speaking the language. Of the World Bank. So I think also emphasizing your ability to work in diverse teams, like Erica said, your ability to work in diverse teams through your experience, your ability also to communicate technical stuff to non-technical audiences. That one is a very, very big thing, because at least for the World Bank side, your counterparts many times don't have PhDs in economics, so you need to learn how to, explain your regression coefficients to them in a way that they can understand. So I think I'll stop here for now. We can carry on later.
Thank you very much. So thank you all for this first round of intervention. So I think I might take right now a few questions. I saw people already writing, and then leave the few questions I have in addition if there is time. So I think there are two questions for FAO. So I think there is one question about what happened during that 1 month break, if someone if the person is allowed to stay in Rome or have to leave. So I don't know if you know about this, and also whether I think this also applied to IMF. So I will then ask you, Sarayu, to answer if there are any consultancy role that can also be done remotely. I think this applied to both organizations. Thank you.
I can go first, Stefania. Yes. So
yes, please.
Yes, there is some rule for minority for that 1 month. Generally, either the the permit of stay is longer than those 11 months. It could be generally could be for 1 year. In any case, if I mean the organization plans to extend your contract, generally the extension is done much earlier. So you will have a contract to show to the in this case to the questura, no, immigration office in Italy. No, of course depends where you're from. There are different rules for every country. Of course, yeah, if you are from EU countries, it's much easier. No, you have the right to stay in any case. So yes, this is it. This is from FAO side. Yes, the consultancies could be at the beginning could be both home-based, so you work remotely from home, or it could be a headquarters base or in the field office base. So it's based in that case you have to come every day to the office, or there are also we have also a couple of days of teleworking possibilities, smart working possibilities. So this is from something that yeah, something that I did not mention, particularly for PhD programs. No? So when you complete a PhD, so the counting of the years of experience, no? So particularly those who are in a come from academia to our organization. So if you add your PhD program in the education only, and you don't add anything in the working session of the application, it means that you have no experience, no. So, but if you are paid during your PhD for a specific assignment or for a specific research project, please do add also that experience, even if in parallel, in your working session, because this is very important. Generally, the years of experience of those who come from academia are sort of undercounted, no? Sometimes we have to go back to HR, say, well, this person has done work during PhD that is relevant for us, so it should be counted as. But it's important to keep this in mind, to add both in the working experience and in the education experience, your PhD work and research work. Thanks.
Thank you. Sarayu, if you have anything to add about remote.
Yeah, so IMF is primarily HQ Washington DC based, so we do not offer remote options in the beginning. So you need to join the HQ specifically here. But of course, we have hybrid work mode, and you're only required to come 3 days a week, because the visa we provide for IMF is very specific to the DC area. So DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So you need to be located here to be eligible to get that visa and work for IMF. And then also, once you're here, of course, it's 3 days in person. Then if 3 months in the whole year, you could work from anywhere in the world. So if you have any family emergency to take care of, or just go visit your home country and work from there, you can do that for 3 months in the whole year upon approval from your manager, which is easy. But you have to be like based in DC to start your work.
Okay, that's so perhaps I follow up with you. I think I saw you already reply in the chat, but perhaps for those who will watch the recording, if you could, so there was this question about if there are any necessary qualification or certification that is needed. So just for the audience, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I know I had a question on PhD if in finance and anything necessary. So I'll just reiterate what I mentioned in the chat is, while if you're doing econometrics, it's a very valuable skill to have. IMF looks for candidates who not only have that as a strong empirical tool, but a solid understanding of macroeconomic frameworks and policy issues. So anything like, macroeconomic understand, like that's a core requirement. Then you have quantitative analytical strength, policy relevance, and applied research. So that'll stand out. Your candidacy will stand out if you have that. No formal certifications are required, honestly. I mean, of course, the coursework, skill areas that will strengthen your candidacy is, so if you're supposed more specialized in econometrics or finance, or so I think having like international economics, trade, that's a good skill to have, a good experience to have. Public finance, debt sustainability, monetary policy, like open economy, macro, monetary, fiscal policy. So those skills would be giving you an added advantage when, if you apply through economist program or experienced economist program. Of course, as a research analyst, if you're still thinking what to do and you're specializing in finance or econometrics early in your career, in your bachelor's and master's, you can still apply with that experience and get that added hands-on experience before you decide to do which direction you want to go in later in your career.
Perfect, thank you. Shair, so you, if you want to jump in.
Yes, thank you so much, Stefania. Thank you much for all the speakers. Very informative. I think there is also a question that several people were wondering whether vacancies in international organizations will be affected by all what we're currently seeing at the global level in terms of the uncertainty, the tensions, and the budget cuts, and all this. To what extent different vacancies, especially for young economists, will be affected by that. So I don't know whether our colleagues from the World Bank, IMF, and FAO can perhaps explain this a bit, and to what extent also future vacancies will be sustainable given that most of the PhD students now feel a lot of uncertainty regarding applications in international organizations. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Adesola, I see your hand up. So.
Yeah. I just wanted to chip in here, and I'm not a recruiter or anything, but I would like to start by saying yes. It's in a little way it's affecting the development space, because unfortunately we work in this macro development space, and like you said, we've seen budget cuts across many donor countries. But more importantly, in the World Bank, we are having like some serious restructuring. If you just Google, World Bank, it's quite significant, and that has affected a lot of positions. For example, previously one of the I won't say I won't say easiest, but one of the less competitive ways to get into the bank was through short-term consultancies, for example, and that has been scrapped now. So we don't have short-term consultancies anymore. We have what we call independent contractors, where you are kind of like a sole business rendering a service to the bank. And also we are also merging. So the World Bank has 5 institutions, but we are kind of merging them to be what's it called now, the World Bank Group. So some roles are being duplicated and merging. And so at this point, even if you check the careers website, you don't find a lot of vacancies, but there are some legacy programs that are still open and recruiting. For example, the Young Professionals Program is still recruiting every year. This year, we just completed the recruitment. I think 40 new people are joining us. The World Bank Pioneer Program is also, it's kind of like an internship program, is also still recruiting. African Fellowship, which Eric is a part of, is also there. There's also a new one, MENA Fellowship, which is also recruiting. In addition to all of this, there's something called donor-funded programs, where your country can actually sponsor you to come and work at the World Bank. Typically, you need to be in the Ministry of Finance or something, or you can just get a nomination from your country government, and you can come work here for about 2 years to start with. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead. Yes.
Oh, I think Eric has his hand up, maybe.
Yes.
Yes, maybe if I may cue in, maybe to add a little detail to what my brother Adesola just said. And we see that there's a lot of restructuring going on at the bank, and there are quite a number of staffs who have even lost their positions, as well as those who have been probably reallocated to other units, because there are a lot of merging taking place right now. And we are getting some echoes even with the World Bank YP program, which used to be 5 years. And that's 2 years for the training. And that's 2 years for the leadership training. And 3 years, probably you get a contract to work in any of the global practices at maybe a particular region. And now I hear the program is looking at cutting down to 2 years because of the restructuring at the bank. So it used to be like a stepping stone like a direct stepping stone after your formation. Probably with your discussions with your manager, you could easily get something. But now the recruitment process is more stringent, and after the 2 years of training, it's no longer like a guarantee that you remain at the bank or you continue at the bank. So it's actually affecting, especially the World Bank at this time with the budget cuts and all the restructuring going on, because now they are merging all the 5 agencies of the bank, which is now, they are not talking now of the one World Bank concept, which they are bringing in all the agencies together, bringing the private sector aspect, the World Bank aspects in all development projects which the bank is doing right now. So thank you.
Thank
so
you.
I can say briefly about IMF. So the research analyst program and the fund internship program and the economist program still continues, even though we do have like internal hiring freeze, there's budget constraint, but the research analyst program is more like a pipeline program. So research analysts are also added to the pipeline, and then the departments get their access to the resumes to appoint the research analysts for, hire them for 2 years. Economist program is like a flagship program. I mean, that goes on. Guess the number of cohort we hire every year has gone down a bit compared to the typical numbers we hired, but that's a program that's kind of core to the IMF, and it doesn't like stop. It'll be, maybe the numbers might be like every year, if we used to hire 30, 40, it'll be like 20 next time, or it'll be a little more like more targeted. Instead of volume driven, it'll be more targeted. Mid-career, the experience economist program is also pipeline based. So right now, if we see we have a healthy pipeline already of economists who are in that pipeline looking for jobs within the fund, we might postpone the launch of the mid-career program for another maybe few months and not launch it in October directly, because we see the pipeline strength how it is, and if there's a business need, strong business need to increase that pipeline, we do it. So, but so we look at a healthy pipeline and how it happens, and if we see, okay, the pipeline is depleting, people are getting jobs, then we kind of build it up 6 to 12 months in advance. And of course, these programs take 6 to 12 months to build, right? So we start early, we start ahead, an year in advance to start planning. So these programs, it would limit, it will be not volume driven, it'll be more very targeted approach, but it won't be something that will stop altogether or something. So, and definitely like these programs will launch. I know you will see in the last year, we paused the experience economist program after July. We replenished it in July, but after that, we didn't launch a new program in October. We launched the economist program, we launched the research analyst program, and fund internship. So fund internship also goes on, because these are the interns, we give them every 10 to 12 weeks of the year practice for them to just get hands-on experience. So you won't see completely going away. You will see a very targeted approach to how many numbers are coming in every year, depending on the hiring freeze or internal market. But given the economy, the way it is in the world, I think you'll need more economists trying to help recover the economy of the world more now. So
yes, to the other side. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know, Erdgin, if you have anything to say about the current situation in terms of if you see a decline in positions or.
I don't. I mean, I don't know if I see. Yeah, probably there is a decline because of some cuts in the funding, but I mean, there might be also a decline based on the AI use. No, before, let's say, generally the idea to recruit intern was mostly to do some literature review and things, this type of task, no, or some data crunching, data analysis. Some of these tasks now can be handled also by AI quite efficiently. No, there are some AI agents that can help. I do see this as something that in the long run may affect the recruitment processes. No, and also because when you recruit an intern, you need to make some investments. No, it's also demanding for for us not to dedicate time to educate, to train these people. So I do see AI having quite an impact in the future. But at the same time, sooner or later, we'll need to have people at all levels, no? So the future managers should start from somewhere, no? So I don't know. We are all here waiting to see what will happen, of course.
Just following up on that, so I guess you also expect candidates to have some very good mastering of AI tools, as I guess you expect them to. Is it something that you consider yet, or not? So yeah.
Yeah, also the recruitment has been, so for example, writing skills for us in research are quite important because you can be very good with numbers, but if you don't expose, if you build a clear and narrative, it's you have a limitation, no? So now with so we used to have written tests for that, not to assess, but now with AI is quite complicated to do that.
Yes.
At the same time, you can use AI to improve writing, but it's not the same thing. What I see with the use of AI, the more you know, the more knowledgeable you are, the better use you can make of AI. No, it's not sufficient to replicate, to do something, copy edit things, but it's important not to go beyond what AI can do. So.
Yes, thank you. So I think many things have been discussed. I think there is probably questions about how important is having a PhD. So just repeating, I think for those who are listening, it seems that it is beneficial. It's a thing I understand. So that's definitely recommended. There is I think questions about whether for World Bank positions, there was a question about whether it's possible to do these consultancy jobs while doing a PhD on a scholarship, I think. Does any one of you there have any information about this? Or if it's something that we cannot answer?
Let me see. Let me try and have a go.
Yes,
So
please.
I was on a scholarship for my own PhD as well, and it also was my third year, and my scholarship at in the UK, I was an international student, so you're allowed to work 20 hours a week, and so in my 20 hours a week, I was doing the World Bank work. You get paid your salary, and if you are based in DC, you don't have to pay taxes. But if you are based in the UK, then you have to kind of declare to the Her Majesty's Revenue Service. So I don't see how that's a problem, except your scholarship has a different requirement. But for me, there was not an issue. I had the requisite work permits in the country that I was based, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps I think the last topic that we haven't talked about is the interview process. So perhaps I go through the four of you and gathering different perspective on what you think are what you're looking for in an interview, or what are your main recommendation, main suggestion, main things to avoid in an interview. So perhaps I start from you, Sarayu, if you can have a few words about this.
Yeah. So I think overall the interview for the research analyst program, it's more you submit your application, your resume and cover letter, and you're reviewed by the team and you put into the pipeline if your basic eligibility you meet. And then when a request from the department comes for research analyst, then those resumes are sent to the department, and then they choose and they have their own specific interviews respective to that particular department's need. And they are, of course, the research analysts have, you have to show up your analytical skills, your, the tools that you use, like econometrics, and there are also different economic tools that they use. So they're assessed on that. For fund internship, again, there is no interview as such. It's more like research projects you're doing in PhD. You need to submit your resume and your research. So when the departments are asked about, okay, departments need to come up with research projects also for the summer for the intern to work on. So departments give their research projects, the fund interns give their resumes focusing on what research and what PhD they're working on. Then there's like a matching process where the departments choose their top 5 candidates they want to have as intern for these research projects. At the same time, the candidates are asked to choose their 5 departments based on the research projects the departments give preference to. And there's like a ranking, and then if the match, very rarely their top rank is not received, but sometimes if they don't get the first ranked department or first ranked candidate, they get to the second and third. But ultimately, it's more based on the research resume and the research projects from the department. For the Economist program, that's a more rigorous process where they go through almost the shortlisting, then there's a preliminary assessment. They're assessed for interpersonal skills, technical, economics, macroeconomic skills, and their research paper is reviewed. They need to present like a job market paper that they have worked on in their PhD, and that's assessed. Then they have a specific written assessment that the IMF organizes for all the candidates to do a written assessment, and mostly it's policy related questions, and they're trying to see the thinking process of how a macroeconomist PhD candidate is going to provide their policy assessment for a situation they're asked in the written assessment. And there's also a final panel interview where, again, interpersonal skills and technical skills are evaluated. So that's pretty much that similar assessment is done for an experienced economist as well. So with your master's and many years of experience, or PhD with many years of experience, you go through the same kind of assessment. Your research needs to be very relevant to something that IMF will find it useful for, even when they work in those research areas or policy work. So relevant research, written assessment, panel interview, testing you on fiscal, monetary, and interpersonal skills is very important, because interpersonal skills, because IMF Economist deals with authorities in every government organization, every country, finance ministry, etc. So to be able to have a good interpersonal skills, working in teams, avoiding conflict or managing conflict, all those things are also tested in your interview. And how humble and modest you are to bring your ideas to the authorities, but at the same time work together collaboratively in bringing the solutions, common shared goals, right? So we give equal weightage to interpersonal skills and the technical economic skills. So that's pretty much the overall.
Thank you very much. So I'll move to Adesola to not leave you last again. So if you want to say anything about what you think you did well in your interview, there was, well, or sometimes, well, you think, any point of view, yes.
Thank you very much for not leaving me last this time, Stefania. I would quickly summarize how I prepared for my interview. Let me start by saying, like Sarayu, you mentioned, it's a long process, very rigorous, very intense process at the World Bank YPP. But at the final stage, you have three levels. You have a group interview, which again you're checking for interpersonal skills, how you work with people under very high pressure environments. You have a writing test, and then you have the panel interview. I think the panel interview is the most nerve-wracking. You have 4 people. So when you're applying for the YP, you choose your preferred global practice and an optional, a second option, right? Second choice. So then you have one person from your preferred global practice, usually a manager or a lead economist. You have one person from another global practice, which you don't know who the global practice is going to be until you get into the room. You have one person from another global practice, and then you have somebody from HR. So for me, I applied to poverty and equity. I had somebody from poverty, I had somebody from health, I had somebody from agriculture, and then I had somebody from HR. And what they're looking for in that interview is your T profile. They call it T profile. T profile means your technical depth in your area of specialization as well as your technical breadth, because the YP, like you said, it's a leadership program for future leaders of the World Bank. So they want to see how you can think across different challenges, because development challenges are hardly discipline specific. They're usually interdisciplinary. So how did I prepare? Number one, I did a lot of mock interviews. I had close to 20 mock interviews where I simulated the full experience for 45 minutes. I had somebody ask me questions about like kind of interview questions, up to 20 when I prepared. And so I got used to thinking on my feet. I got used to being very, very stressed under pressure. It could even be your friend, your wife, whoever, that was very, very helpful for me. Number two is I practiced, behavioral questions, particularly using the STAR method. So situation, task, action, and results. I practiced it. So whenever they ask me, tell me a time, you work with a difficult colleague, I'm like, okay, I remember when I was blah, blah, blah. I practiced that a lot until I got used to it, because for me, an interview is a performance, right? For you to be invited to interview means you are qualified to get the job. So it's just performance, and your performance depends strongly on your rehearsals. So this is what I did. The third thing I did was I made sure, because then the bank just recruited a new president, so I made sure I watched pretty much any video that he had, any interview, any speech he gave. I watched everything. So if you gave me a quote, I'm like, okay, yes, that was at Georgetown University at this time. For me, it was to try to get a sense of the strategic direction of the World Bank. And so when I was answering my questions, I was kind of talking like somebody who was already in the World Bank, using the language that they use. Next, I learned all the World Bank instruments from the website. So all the World Bank instruments, how they, do their technical expertise, their loan programs, the development, policy, financing. I learned all of it. And I learned all of it. And at that time, they were very big on climate. So they had this report called Climate Change and Development Report, CCDRs, and they had like a few for each region. So I read all those reports, so that if you talk to me about, say, what are the climate issues in sub-Saharan Africa, or say South Africa, southern parts of Africa, I could tell you, okay, there are droughts, there are this, there are that. If you tell me about South Asia, I could answer those kind of questions. Finally, I learned about all the global practices. They have, I think then there were 17 global practices, what they do and how they did it. So I'm in the bathroom, I'm just scrolling, okay, health, what does health do? How did they do it? I'm chatting with a friend, I'm scrolling. Such that because they're looking for a tip profile, and at the interview, you don't know who is going to interview you. So if you tell me about water, so I can think of 3 things that water global practice does, for example, sanitation, power, irrigation, and I could talk to that, what kind of instruments they use, where they work, and what are the kind of key water challenges in different regions. So having all of that knowledge and then practicing, having people interview me, I think those are the key things I did, and I think those made a huge difference in my, also practicing introducing yourself. That first line, that first question, tell us about yourself and why you are applying for this position. I practice it so much, I could say it in my sleep. So I think those really, really helped for me, and they made a huge difference in my interview. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So I guess the message is clear here, prepare as, so thank you. I'm conscious of time. So Eric, if you have ever something quick to add to this.
Thank you. Thank the previous speakers for saying everything and being the last. Adesola is happy. So I'll say for the African Fellowship Program, it's a bit different. The approach is a bit different. First, it targets PhD students who are in their final year, or early graduates, maybe those who just finished their PhD program. And yes, you apply like any other application platform, and they have like limited space, or in terms of the numbers recruited. Like we applied close to about over 5,000 people, and they needed just 26 people, and we were 8 boys and 14 girls. So the program is technical to a fault. You apply after the screening processes, then depending on your the country management unit or maybe the global practice, some do offer interviews while others review documents, or depending on the need of the various units. So I'll say with respect to knowing that these international organizations receive maybe thousands of applications, so tailoring your CV or your application is non-negotiable, because generic ones go straight to the rejection pile. So for the CV, if you could keep it between, say, 1-2 pages, yes, which that was what I did. And also it started like with a strong professional summary, tying my experiences to the direct needs of maybe some of the global practices or the country management units. So I also did what called quantified. I quantified my achievements. That's, for example, I say I led an analysis supporting X project, impacting Y farmers in Z location, or I published on climate impacts on X value chains in Y location, in Z journal or book chapter or policy brief, and had probably Z citations. So quantifying is like giving numbers so that someone could actually perceive or the actual impact of what you did. So I actually also highlighted my technical skills. That's in terms of the softwares. I could use Data Gretel, R, Python, GAMS. So some of those software packages, as well as technical skills in econometrics, in M&E, impact evaluation. So they actually highlight your ability to work across those cross-disciplinary aspects of development. So for the cover letter, things like I address like the selection criteria. You must read the call properly, study the job description, and ensure that your cover letter tells the story and why you should be the best candidate for this position. And also remember to tailor your write-up or your story with, for example, the World Bank's mission, which is creating a world free of poverty and shared prosperity in a livable planet. So you must highlight those key things: inclusivity, sustainability aspects, job creation, which is now the new cliche of the World Bank. So bringing out those aspects, and equally Adesola mentioned using the STAR approach, where you have to tell your story in a coherent and maybe a logical way, so that those in the panel could equally perceive. So other important elements could be, of course, your academic performance. Maybe your transcripts should be quite good. Your research publications, if you have them, make sure you showcase them. And then equally from your networks or your supervisors, you could equally get references which could come from those who could speak very well about your work. So just research deeply about the unit, practice behavioral questions, technical preparations, and then mock interviews, like Adesola said, is very pivotal in this process.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, I'm conscious of time. So I think we are over, unfortunately. So Erdgin, sorry, I didn't get to you for the interview. Questions. There is one question about if there is a specific CV format. Does any organization has specific CV format, or is it, I think, short 2 pages is what you're looking for?
No, I think it's every organization, all UN organizations have a specific application process online, where you have to include one by one. Generally, you do it once for every organization. You update it, of course. So you get information either from CV. So every organization has its own. Ours is called PH form. So you need to compile that. But it's the same, I think, across other UN organizations. Yeah.
Okay, that's great to know. So there is basically an online form that you basically fill up with your qualification and.
Yes,
Okay, so
even
yeah.
myself, what I do is I complete that online. I do add attachments, like for example, another CV with list of publications and a cover letter for every
So
application.
is this is this something that one can do outside the application process, or is it within once you apply for a position?
Yes, I mean, within when you apply, you have
You'll
all
do this.
you have to
Okay.
complete, but you can add attachments. In the attachments,
Okay.
you add the cover letter
Okay.
done in Word or PDF outside, and the list of publications. No, because generally
Okay.
the application form does not request it, so you
Okay.
can attach it through I mean through an abstract.
Thank you very much. So sorry that we have to now stop. There were still some unanswered questions, and we are happy for the audience to send them to us, and then we will redirect them to our speakers. So thank you very much to all our speakers today. It was really, really insightful conversation. So I'll just want to mention our next webinar, which will be in about a month on the 23rd of June. And we will have two papers now, one on natural resources and gender inequality, and the other on temperature shocks and maternal care. So thank you, everybody. Thank you those who presented. Thank you for your support. And I'll see all the others at the next webinar. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.